So with all the coronavirus virus stuff going on, are you reacting with faith or fear? I'm going to look at that a little bit today on Tofer's Take. So I'm not going to lie, I've been at home, other than going to work, and I'm kind of dressed down a little bit today. I usually do this when I'm headed, right before I head out or when I'm planning on heading out, and haven't really planned on heading out, or doing anything other than going to work. But are you handling the coronavirus? COVID 19. Are you handling that with faith or fear? And I want to explain what I mean by that a little bit. I've seen a lot of people react, out of fear, and I mean maybe a little bit more than just panicking to buy the toilet paper, or stuff like that. I mean, in some of the ads on television. Yeah, I've been watching a little bit of telly while, this quarantine's going on. All these companies are like, we are safe, we're safe, we are, it's okay to shop us. And it just seems like they're coming from a place of fear that they might lose business. Not that they're inherently afraid of, or mortally afraid of anything. It's just they're afraid they might lose business because of this. So how do I spin that into a Christian perspective? Well, I've seen a lot of, posts on Facebook and all that. In Christian, like, social media. Anything from COVID is the mark of the beast to, that verse in 2 Chronicles where God says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, then I will hear from heaven and I will restore their land. I've heard people say that this is like, a plague, and it's the end of the world, and it just seems that people are reacting out of fear. Again, not, a panic, not, fear of like, death, just a fear that maybe it's the end times. You see, if we're going to quote 2 Chronicles, you got to look at who God's talking to in this. It says, if my people who are called by my name. You see, I heard this back when 9/11 was happening, and it was a call to repent, but not for Christians to repent, but for the nation. But it's my people called by my name, would humble themselves and pray. And we use this verse out of context so much. And then we target it at the world as a whole, and not Christianity. And I'll take it a step further. I'm not even sure it's about Christianity. Because if you look at the Bible, especially the Old Testament where this verse is from, God's people who were called by God's name were the Israelites. And to say that, Christian replaced, Israel, no. That's substitution theology. Or replacement theology. And it ends with, I will heal their land. And we forget that The land of Israel, the nation of Israel, was very agricultural. I think a few verses earlier, it's in the chapter. It talks about, it won't rain or the locust comes, you know. That's what God's healing the land from. Not COVID-19. And I've been around for a while and I've seen this attitude, in Christians, like, I remember vaguely, little, back in the 80s, when AIDS was, a major threat. And they're like, oh, this is God's judgment. You see, if we're looking at God's judgment, if we're looking at Revelation, I see nothing in the book of Revelation that correlates with COVID-19. I mean, the sun's not black, the waters aren't blood. The plague is, I don't see this as being that severe, compared to some of the sicknesses in Revelation. People aren't begging for their deaths because of this. I don't see the correlation at all. I think we as a whole, as Christians, are maybe, using this fear to motivate people to come to us, and I think that's the wrong way to go about it. What if people saw how we reacted? What if, like the early church, there was a actual deadly disease going around, and they went to these colonies, contracted the disease themselves, just to serve other people. What if we acted out of faith? What if we acted out of love, towards other people? Then, instead of pointing that this might be the wrath of God, which, really I don't think it is. You see, my heart is for the church, that we would wake up. And I'm all about revival. I'm all about passion, in worship, and for the Bible and for the truth. But calling people to repent because of fear that might not even be based, anywhere in the Bible, I don't think that's how you do it. I don't think that's how God would work. God operates out of, love and compassion. And almost every time he sends, a plague or a curse in the land, he tells his people why. I will plague Egypt so my name will be made great. You disobeyed my law, and told David, you disobeyed my law, you took a census, judgment is coming. He struck people down for like the molten calf worship, and seems every time God tells his people what he's about to do, even with the famine in Egypt, And as far as I know, God's not told anybody that he's about to send COVID-19 on the earth. So again, I do not think this is a plague. I don't think we should all go into panic mode or try to convert people out of fear of judgment, But I will tell you one thing I am a little bit afraid of. All these Christians who have had probably like a month of Sundays off of going to church, how many of them will come back? And this is over. See, I think church attendance will be down. And people will say, well, it's the summer, people are on vacation. What if this is, kind of the separating of the sheep from the goats, if you will? Those who are really dedicated, really devoted, and will go back to church after all this is done, versus people who are just there for politics, who are just there, for lip service, because they're Sunday morning Christians, and that's what I'm afraid of. Is church attendance will drop after all this is done. Now I may be wrong on that. I hope I'm wrong on that. But please, please, please act out of the love God has for you for being a born again believer, for being one of his kids, and quit trying to spread fear and wrath and judgment on others through all this. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope y'all enjoyed this. I kind of rambled on. I was going to go live with this, but I think I'm going to save that for next week. Probably next Saturday. And there's probably a reason it's next Saturday. And some of you might know what it is. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.